2. Check.
We are.
1,
Hello.
2. We
Can you hear me?
live.
We are deep. We are live.
Welcome to the channel. This is Beyond Disclosure Podcast, Episode 1.
Yay.
And I'm Corey, and I
I'm
got
Lem.
my good mate Lem here. How are you, Lem?
Yeah, not too bad, man. How's it going?
Good. Me and Lem are a long time friends. We live on either ends of the Australian continent.
Coast to coast,
Lem,
baby.
yeah, coast to coast. Lem's on the west. I'm on the east. How is it over in the west, Lem? What's the weather like?
It's actually coming into awesome. It's just starting spring, having some nice days. So, yeah, we've been having some crappy times, but now, yeah, hopefully a bit nicer. But, you know, I'm just jealous you guys tend to have it really nice all the time. So,
Yeah, well, it's starting to be the same here. You know, spring's hit, and I'm in a subtropical area, so summer's pretty nice here.
yeah.
Yeah, good times coming in Australia. In the
Yeah.
US, they're getting ready for the cold.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Yeah. But yeah, we're here to talk UFOs.
Yeah.
And UFO
Great.
disclosure in particular. Me and you have had a big interest in this subject, you know, since we were young, growing up together, talking about it a lot. And now we're sort of going through probably one of the most important parts in history, I think, when it comes to UFO disclosure. It's a big time. There's a lot has happened in the last few months.
There's definitely been some really big milestones, and you know, until recently, probably within the last 5 years, I wouldn't have thought, maybe 10 years, I wouldn't have necessarily thought that I would ever see this kind of movement on the topic. You know, and then I guess a lot of it changed in 2017 when we got the New York Times and Washington Post articles, those kind of things. But there's definitely been milestones. But yeah, this year has definitely been some pretty big ones. So it's good to be seeing it moving forward.
Yeah. It has been hard to sort of comprehend the idea of this type of push. You know, in the past, it's been hard to sort of see this happening. But yeah, it is. It's happening. It's happening now. We got to make sure that it keeps going in the right direction. So, you know, that's why we want to talk about it in front of people as well, so that we can bring awareness and get everyone passionate about talking about this, because it's important. It's one of the biggest things happening to the human race. So
possibly the biggest thing to ever happen to the human race.
I think so.
Yeah, but look, I get it. Like, people, it's difficult for people because, you know, you got to pay your bills, you got to live your life, and that kind of thing. But the implications, just on an energy level, like that is completely revolutionary, right? They're not flying rockets around. There's something else going on.
Yeah, and for me, that really gets me. The fact that, you know, global warming and the energy crisis, they're the biggest, you know, sort of topics as far as important things go in the world. And, you know, this is directly related to that subject. And this is a way to fix it.
Yeah, and it might not necessarily happen in 5 or 10 years, but it will never happen if this kind of stuff doesn't ever come out, you know, or it is never investigated.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a big few months. Obviously, it all sort of started with the Grusch interview, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That was where it's reignited everything.
And since then, it's you know, there's been keen eyes on watching what's happening next, what's coming.
Pun intended.
Yeah. And
because Leslie's been pretty instrumental in a lot of that stuff. So got to tip that to that lady. She's pretty awesome.
The journalists that have been doing the work in getting this information out to the public. That they really have been, you know, pivotal and heroic in.
Yeah. Oh, ballsy stuff, man. It's ballsy stuff to put your reputation on the line like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they continue to do it. And yeah, it's not easy. And, you know, especially with a lot of disinformation out there, it's hard to wade through, you know, the bullshit and get the good stuff. And, you know, it's hard. Just look at the Mexican aliens, for example.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. It's that's the Wild West of UFO town at the moment.
Yeah, and you know, we sort of get pulled in one direction and then another direction the next day when it comes to information like this. There's a lot of skepticism around it, and rightfully so, I think. But let's talk about the Mexican aliens, because I think that has caused a bit of a stir, and the story sort of keeps evolving.
Yeah, what's weird to me is, like, you would think that this would be a flash in the pan, and the skeptics would be like not that interested just because it seems so fake. It's like, we're not going to have to be bothered about this. But there's been a lot of weird pushback. Like, there's been a couple of stories recently where I've just noticed like an extra amount of pushback where it's like, surely you wouldn't even bother with this kind of thing if it's so ridiculous. Why are you putting so much effort into it? I don't know. Maybe it's all a psyop. Who knows?
Yeah.
But then, you know, the guy who presented and one of the doctors are apparently quite discreditable, not well regarded, you might say. But then I think I just saw another medical review recently, which was by a completely different guy, and it was saying the same stuff. So who knows?
Well, I've just put up footage now, and this is of the live scan. This was, when was this? This was
in the last couple of days. It might have been yesterday, actually.
Yesterday. And
I don't know what the time difference is. It's like the same as America.
Yeah. And this is the live scan going on. They did it live. I've seen a couple of Reddit posts on it and a couple of Twitter posts on it, and they are saying, again, there's professionals in their field in here helping do this science, and they are now saying it's legit.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing they're definitely saying is it's one whole body.
Yes.
It's not pieces put together, which was part of the
that was the main thing.
Yeah.
But also the other thing is, well, I think before that, the main established thing before that is, yes, it is 1,000 years old. So whether it was put together from 1,000-year-old pieces or created and put together 1,000 years ago, if it's the latter, then that's pretty weird. Because why would they be making alien-looking beings together like a doll 1,000 years ago? There's some kind of culture of that. Why was that? If it's the latter, then, you know, how did they get their hands on 1,000-year-old material and be able to put a mummy together like that with it? It's weird.
Yeah. I'll just I might just share my screen if I can. This is our first episode. We might have technical difficulties. So yeah, we're still learning how to navigate here. But I think I'll just try and share my screen and bring up. This was a tweet I seen today. Hopefully you can see that.
Hang on. Yeah.
And this is, according to Jose de Jesus Zals Benitez, I pronounced that perfectly, I'm sure, director of the Health Sciences Research Institute of the Secretary of the Navy. The study showed that the alleged bodies belonged to a single skeleton and were not assembled. And I've seen that a couple of times. I've seen that sort of mentioned a couple of times, that's what they've got from this live scan. This is what the professionals are coming out.
And look, this is a could be complete hearsay, but there was a random post on Reddit I saw this afternoon that was supposedly someone whose best friend was, I don't know, some kind of biologist, and who was hugely skeptical. He got them to look at the CT scans and all the stuff that came out of this thing, and they were like, "Yeah, that does look like a whole body," basically, as they were saying.
Yep.
But that's just a Reddit post, so who knows?
Yep. Yep. I think they're also saying that the people that worked on this live scan and were part of it are saying it's legitimate. It's a full body. I don't think any DNA has been done yet, but there was implants inside the body, metal implants.
Yeah. And they are asking for other scientists, from what I've heard. They're saying, please come and
please come and
verify this.
Come and get samples and test this because it's real. So the pendulum swings, and is this part of the psyop, the disinformation? It's just look.
It's weird though, because I don't know. Mexico's right next door. Maybe it is easy to send people in and do that kind of thing.
Yep. Money will make people do things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just have to see how this Mexico thing plays out. I don't know if they said, are there going to be any more hearings or
in Mexico?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything like that. But we are having more hearings in US. Yeah. So I think there's been a couple of tweets, one from Luna and
Luna. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one I saw from Luna. I'm sure Tim Burchett would have put out one as well. He's
and Moskowitz. And
those three are really sort of spearheading this thing. Which is really good to see.
Yeah. They're doing awesome work. So
and I think everyone in that, or 90% of the people at the hearing, did bloody great work.
Yeah.
There's a couple that was like, ugh. Should have read a bit more, but
so I think the tweet did say, actually I don't have it here, I don't think, but it did say, the tweet from Luna said, we will not be getting a select committee hearing. But we will be getting more.
A select committee to investigate this. It would have been a subcommittee, I guess, to investigate this specifically. But they're not getting the subcommittee, but they are getting more hearings as a part of another select committee.
Yeah, which means hopefully, should mean more witnesses, right?
Isn't that the word on the street, right? That's a lot of people are saying. I'm sure Corbell said it. I'm sure Knapp said it. I'm pretty sure Ross has even said it. There's people in the wings waiting and ready to come out and do what Grusch and Fravor and Graves did.
Yeah. And it's interesting that NASA just, and I want to talk about more NASA in a bit, but supposedly there was a NASA witness.
I saw his name come across somewhere. I didn't write it down anywhere, and now I've lost the time, but I'm sure I could find it out.
Okay. I wasn't sure that they actually named someone.
They did name someone, and I saw his name somewhere, and very apparently he was kind of got the hard word put on him.
Yeah. Right. And so there was a witness that was meant to show up, didn't show up at the hearing. Then NASA bring out their report, and they basically say there's nothing to see here. Yet, but we're looking, which is cool. But anyway, but I just want to go back to the hearings in the US. So we should get more witnesses. Maybe we might get that first-hand witness.
Well,
Um,
I think that's on the cards for sure. I definitely
yeah,
think that it might not be a first-hand current witness, but perhaps like because they keep no, I don't know if you they're always using this term legacy.
yeah.
It's a legacy program. So I have a feeling that the first witness that's going to come out will be someone that is long since retired, maybe involved in Roswell directly. That
Mm.
might be the breaker. That Roswell still gets bandied around all the time. It that could be the one.
Yeah, will Roswell be one of the key elements to the whole sort of disclosure package?
Yeah, because if they came clean about that, they could actually come clean about not only UAP but the cover up, which is the one of the reasons I think they're
Mm.
probably hiding it more is because okay, we've had to do all this dodgy stuff for the cover up. But if you bring it out with this one guy from Roswell, it's like, yep, they did this. There were these cover ups. I don't know. It might just be easier for people to swallow.
Can they unveil one cover up without doing all of them?
Well, that's yeah, and I've there's been a lot of talk on that in the past. It's like once the genie's out of the bottle, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't get it back in there. So
Yeah, and just the fact that, hey, we're coming clean. We're coming clean. Roswell was real.
yeah,
What about that one and that one? No, no, no,
yeah,
no, nothing. Just Roswell.
yeah.
Just Roswell. Because there must be lots. I think there must be lots.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone when we always talk about Roswell, and I know you and I always talk about Rendlesham, but there's
Mm.
thousands of them, man. The one that actually shocked me a bit that I never really knew about was the Vatican thing that sort of Grusch implied in the interviews and all that kind of,
Yeah,
was it Mussolini and the Vatican?
yeah, yeah.
And
They
no
know what's
surprise
going
that
on.
then Hitler may have had the Nazi bell or whatever it was.
Yeah, yep, yep. Was that part of World War II?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
was that
yeah,
one
yeah,
of the,
yeah.
because
Why was that World War II?
yeah, yeah, because supposedly once World War II ended, when Hitler was cooked, um, there was a big rush between
Oh yeah, yeah,
a race between the British, the Americans,
yeah,
and the
yeah.
Russians
Paperclip
to
and all
get
that.
in there
Oh yeah,
and
and
get the good stuff.
suck the brains out of it. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, but that is like on every empire collapse. I think that happens.
yep,
Not not necessarily the way it did in that regard. That was definitely a technological one, and people with expertise. I guess not necessarily technological expertise, but yeah, they got a lot of high quality people out of there. Oh, NASA was full of them. They do that.
yeah. NASA
Yeah,
was built on Nazis.
yeah, basically.
They had the good
Well,
stuff.
I mean, we've had the Oppenheimer movie. Where's the von Braun? What's his name? Von Braun.
Von Braun. They did put him in that.
Was it?
There's the Project Blue Book, TV series. I think it's
Oh,
on
okay.
Apple. I think it was on Apple. They had scene with Von Braun with the
Von
UFO,
Braun. Yeah.
working on UFOs. It was pretty cool. I just want to go back to the hearings, the US hearings that
Mm,
will be coming, because Luna said it won't be a select committee,
mm.
but there will be more hearings. What's you know more about this?
Yes.
What's
So
the select committee?
yeah. So with the select committee, and it took me a bit to nail it down, and I'm pretty sure this is how it goes. But basically, if they have a select committee, it gives them certain powers. The most in this regard, one of the most powerful powers would be a subpoena power to get whoever they want in, and then have them having to give them evidence under oath, subject to perjury if they were lying. So we'll just get the ISIG director, get him in.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll get the the director of intelligence, the director of army intelligence. No, there's a million different people get in. They could even get civilians in. They can subpoena. I dare say they could, especially if it was a Senate Select Committee, they could definitely subpoena like civil records. So they could probably, start going after Boeing, all those companies, the Skunk Works.
Yeah, and like they could go after people on off that list that David Grusch supplied.
Yeah, basically, and have a lot more power to ask a lot more questions. Where I think if they've just got given a hearing, because it all comes down to there's select committees and they have chairman, and then there's they're made up of both sides. The chairman is the whichever party is in power in that house, and then there's the leader of the minority. So as long as those two people agree that you can start subpoenaing people and do this other stuff, which generally isn't too hard, and especially if it was in a UAP one where we've had so much corroboration from both sides of the aisle, they would definitely be able to. I can guarantee that they would all be like, "Yep, let's get these people in." Tim would be leading the way, and we've got some great Democrats in there as well. AOC would not let the money go. She would just follow it down and hunt them down. I think they were a little too scared to let them go that far.
So who says yay or nay to select committees?
I'm pretty sure it's the leaders of the House.
Right.
So I guess that was Chuck Schumer and it'll be the minority and majority. I'm not exactly sure how their select committee. I know more about Australian politics, but I'm assuming it would be the majority and minority leaders of either houses, and along with the speaker of either house.
Yep.
I dare say it'd be a combination of those few people, and they decide,
maybe they're just not ready to go that far that quick.
Well, I don't think so, because that you'd be able to dig a little too deep there.
Yep.
And it seems there's characters in the Congress and the Senate at the moment that you probably don't want to give those powers, i.e., Burchett and friends. Yep.
So I've always said this. I don't know exactly your thoughts, but I think it's all planned. I think someone's holding the reins and sort of, this is what's coming out. This is what we're going to let come out. And this is how we're going to do it. I don't know what you think about that, but look, to me, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and look, I think, and I've seen quite a few people, Richard Dolan in particular. I agree with him on a lot of things. There's definitely factions. There's definitely a faction that does not want any of this to come out under any circumstances. And there's definitely a faction that wants a little bit to come out. And there might even be a faction, and I think there probably is a faction, that wants a lot of this stuff to come out. Yeah. It's just who's positioned where at the moment.
Well, it looks like, Chuck Schumer and some of the people that are pushing for the amendments to the DOD Act or whatever it is.
Yeah, the NDAA. Basically, money for guns.
These guys, they seem to. This is their plan. This is this is what faction they're in. They're like, we want to bring this out. That's how it feels to me. So, and it feels like they seem to have a fair amount of control in this coming out.
Yeah, but it's so tough to tell, right? Like, you could take the wildest story and say they've only disclosed that amount, or you could take a very tame story and say they've disclosed that amount. I mean, you've always got to measure everything that comes along, but I haven't seen this kind of passion and commitment. Although, I mean, they're obviously very busy. I know how busy politicians are all the time. But the few key players just keep coming out with stuff, and they seem to want to be going after it. So it's really good.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to I've been thinking, I haven't talked to you about this before, but
Mm.
we've got hearings, which means we've got witnesses. David Grusch came out as a whistleblower. He put in his whistleblower complaint. Is it possible that there's already more whistleblower complaints lodged that we just don't know about yet?
Yeah, probably.
Hmm.
Well, I think there almost must certainly be, considering the number 44 is bandied around quite a lot, and from pretty solid people have said there's at least 4 people ready to go, and I think at least some of them are first-hand legacy people.
Mm.
So I don't know. Well, I tell you what, we'll find out with this with these upcoming hearings. If we get more hearings, that'll be the people coming through. It'll be those whistleblowers, and I don't think that they'd go to a hearing unless they did it the way Grusch did it, with going through the whole process.
You think
whistleblower
they would
complaint,
go
that kind of stuff.
public?
I think they would.
Public. Yep.
I think that, especially if they're as credible as Grusch, then I think they would, with the credentials of, and I dare say that's the people coming through are going to be credentialed. Then they'll go the same route. They'll probably talk to the ISIG, and we can talk about that later because I brought up the letter that they got back from the ISIG. But yeah, they would talk to them. They would make their official whistleblower complaint to get the protections, because there are meant to be reasonable protections now in the US for whistleblowers. So, yeah, I think that's probably who's coming along.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get some dates. We get some dates soon.
And like I said, though, man, Parliament can move slowly. I know how bogged down it can get with stuff. So,
yeah. Politicians don't move too quickly. I mean, I that's something I covered in my first video, though, was the comments made by Bryce Zabel and then Ross Coulthart in their Need to Know podcast, where Bryce Zabel sort of hangs his head and he goes, "Well, what makes them rush? What makes a politician rush like this? I'm worried there's something bad coming." and Ross says, "I know there's only a limited amount of time. The governments know that they need to bring this out now." So, yeah, like for politicians, it seems to be moving like pretty quick.
Well, I was going to say that the whole thing this year is moving lightning speed, man. It's kind of crazy. Like, it just seems to be just when you think we're like, okay, we're in a break. Now everything's a bit more quiet and there's not really anything going on. And then bam, something else will come along and it'll spark up again.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's the faction pushing it along or if that's part of the disclosure timeline. Yeah, who knows? Maybe there's plenty of and I've never liked when anyone ever throws a date around, but there's plenty of people throwing dates around.
Yeah. Well, the whole 2027 thing.
2027, but 2024, 2025, there's multiple ones being thrown around. And even discounting any exact date, in the next 50 years, there's things are looking pretty dicey. So
yeah, something's got to happen. Something's got to change. Yep, get that free energy out there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, something at least.
Yeah.
Anti-grav and free energy would basically solve all transport, logistics, and energy problems overnight.
Yeah. If there's a way to make gravity, yes, a lot of things.
Well, even just manipulate gravity. If you're taking even a modest view of some of the performances that some of these crafts have shown, you could step on. I could step on a pod in Perth and be in Nimbin within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And it'd just be sitting there. Okay, looking at my whatever we have instead of phones. And it would cost cents.
It'll be your augmented reality implant.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just
vision
my eyeball and
Yep. Watch some funny
Go back
YouTube videos.
Yeah, or whatever they're calling it at the point.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to maybe change the subject to NASA because that was the other thing that happened over the last few days.
Yep. And I've got a tangential sort of thing I want to bring up with the NASA thing, and I was just talking about it. The letter that Tim and Burchett and Luna wrote to ISIG, because I don't know if you remember in the hearings. It's a bit of a segue, but
yeah. Do you want me to bring that up on the screen?
hang on. I can. Have you got that there? I'll just put that.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I'll get that for you. But basically, the things that Grusch, you know, how Grusch said, "Oh, I'd like to tell you these things," or "Who can tell us these things?" Talk to ISIG because that's who I talk to. And so they wrote to the ISIG, which is the Agents Committee Inspector General, I believe.
Yeah, I think I seen this letter the other day.
Yeah, Thomas Monheim, and it's all very, very bureaucratic, wordy. Absolutely. I mean, and if you just pay attention to the last paragraph, and I'll read it out. As a matter of discretion, ISIG that it has not conducted any audit, inspection, evaluation, or review of alleged UAP programs within this responsibility and authority of the DNI, which is the Department of National Intelligence, I believe, or the Director of National Intelligence, maybe, that would enable this office to provide a fulsome response to your question. So that is a lot of wordy language to sidestep a lot of things. For example, they don't say investigate at all, audit, inspect, evaluate, or review. So they've likely at least done an investigation and they just don't want to say something about it. And also programs within the responsibility and authority of the DNI. So they didn't look into any private sector stuff, which that'll be the big one, because that's where a lot of that FOI. There's two things that are protected by FOI, and we were talking a little bit about this just before we came on live. The Atomic Energy Act and anything in the private sector. Yeah. So if you wanted to hide something like this, you would hide it in the Atomic Energy Act or in the private sector. And those stories have been going around for 70 or 80 years.
Yeah. And I might just bring up that that Reddit thread I found before too that says that, if I can find the true blockade to disclosure.
Yep.
But I can't find it now. Oh, here it is. True blockade to disclosure as per Grusch. The secrecy is under the Atomic Energy Act of 1954, Chapter 6, Special Nuclear Material, vital that taxpayers push for public congressional call or reform. So, yeah, a lot of this classified UAP information is all hidden under the special, the nuclear material secrecy.
Yeah. And I believe, as we were saying as well before, that's administered under the Department of Energy, right?
Yeah.
And not, in fact, any kind of military organization.
Yeah.
Another very suspect department, if you will.
Yeah. So, yeah, then I sort of asked the question: how can they hide it under a Nuclear Material Secrecy Act? It must be directly,
because it's probably wording in the act about energy capacities or energy outputs. And so, like, obviously on Earth with current technology, the highest energy output capacity you could possibly have is some kind of nuclear output. If something went beyond that, I dare say they've made a catch-all term. I'd have to read the legislation, but they dare say they would have made a catch-all term to say, anything at atomic level or above comes under this act.
Yeah.
Look, that's pure speculation, but this is generally how those things go.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. So that's why. That's.
Well, but look, the other interesting. I was just saying the other interesting thing is that the DOE have I don't know how they call it. They've subpoenaed, or they've taken patents. They've taken thousands of patents in America due to energy sensitivity. So people have come up with new energy devices, whether it makes your something run more efficiently, your electric motor run more efficiently, or something like that, and basically have said, no, that's too sensitive for the open market. You can't do that, and then they cloister them away. Yeah. So they've been suspect for a long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The energy patents and
I mean,
all of that funny business.
Energy is big business, so
yeah,
it's no surprise.
Yep. So, and that's, I don't think they'd like to be caught on the back foot if there was, I think that the energy sector, the last thing they're going to want is, holy crap, they're going to disclose all of this secret stuff and we haven't prepared.
Yeah.
I think this could be on their timeline. It's like, you know what? We've developed a way to control this energy source.
Yeah, charge free energy.
Yeah,
they've worked out a way. Yeah, in fact, you may be right, because the whole idea of a smart city is kind of that. Or even when you look at a smart house, everything's metered. Everything can be turned on and off at the flick of at remotely, completely offsite. Was it a great Black Mirror episode or something where they hack into this CEO of a tech company house, and it's a completely smart house, and they just fucking make it go crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and to me, the idea of that sort of supports the whole Great Reset idea. The World Economic Forum and the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution. That's what a Fourth Industrial Revolution would be. It'd be massive industrial change.
Internet of Things. It's the Internet of Things.
Yeah. And this would be, a new global structure, new energy systems, new economy.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything would change quite rapidly. So, what would support that? The energy companies coming out with their new model for this is what we're giving you. Yeah. And this is how you're going to pay for it. And
it'll be a subscription-based model.
Yeah.
Subscribe to this energy company.
Yeah. It will be. It will be. Everything's going to be all right. So
you won't own anything and you'll love it.
You'll love it. You're going to love
it. Eats the crickets.
Yeah, cricket meat.
Yeah.
It's the new thing.
The big thing. Crickets have feelings too, guys.
Can vegans eat cricket meat?
I don't know. That's a good question. They probably have too many. No, I was going to say they probably have too many nerve endings. I know they can eat like clams and stuff, right? Anyway, let's not get off topic. Stupid World Economic Forum.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about NASA? Let's talk about NASA.
Yeah, all right. Let's do the NASA thing. And then that was the segue into. There is definitely still some pushback. Obviously there's a lot of the people, the Office of the ISIG, the Inspector General, doesn't really want to dig into any of this. And I think that's kind of what we got a little bit from NASA. You actually watched more of the NASA thing than I did. So
yeah, it was pretty boring.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I watched your take on it, and look, I agree. Anything that will destigmatize or bring a bit more attention to the topic is good. The disappointing stuff was pretty obvious. I mean, they could barely even pronounce Grusch's name. They said it was a friend of a friend who said this stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
It seemed pretty uninformed.
yeah,
And look at
yeah.
them. Don't look
Have
like
a
inspiring
look at 'em.
characters.
Have a
Yeah.
look at him. You couldn't trust him as far as you could throw him. And I think like this guy, Bill Nelson, I don't like this guy.
No,
He's like I said to you before, he seems marginally more coherent than Joe Biden, which is I guess is a good thing.
yeah, it's a step in the right direction.
And I did see it. I did see a tweet about this guy, which made me laugh. And it's Bill Nelson. He's a politician, right? This guy can talk for 12 hours and not say anything.
Yeah,
and he can bullshit with the best of them. So yeah, I don't really trust this guy. And I see all the comments in the YouTube videos on the feed on this video here that's on YouTube, the actual full hearing, and even the video that I did about my take on it. People are angry. People are pissed. They're in the comments saying this is rubbish. They're not giving us anything. But I don't really know like what people expect. Do they really expect? Did they expect them to come out last week and go, here's everything? Yep,
yeah.
The aliens are real. The UFOs are real. It wasn't going to happen.
And I appreciate that. I think what people expected though was one, not to be so like dismissive, especially of the whole Grusch thing.
Yeah.
Whether you believe Grusch or not, he said all that under oath, and he said it next to Graves and Fravor, who to me are some of the most unimpeachable guys. Yeah, they experienced that stuff firsthand. There's video, there's radar returns. That shit happened. That shit was unexplainable. To be so dismissive of that is kind of shitty. But also, there's been NASA whistleblowers for decades. For them not to give anything, for them to be so vague, I get why people were pissed off. It pissed me off a little bit. It's like, you serious, guys? We've had whistleblowers come out of your institution. We've had people pointing the finger at you. We've had live feeds cut for no reason. We've had when you've forgotten to cut a live feed and there's some weird thing going across camera and to get explained away somehow. You could do a little better. You talk about transparency and then you kind of go,
yeah. And I think
I get why people were pissed off.
Yeah, and that's why people aren't really buying. And again, for me, this is why it's all a stage. It's all a plan, because these guys, they're going to tell us what they want to tell us when they're ready to tell us, right at the right time, when it's convenient for probably the Department of Energy.
Well, and whichever private company is making money. I mean, that's that's the other thing. It's the private sector. Anyway, we'll talk about that a bit later.
Well, quickly on the private sector, but really let's say what you're talking about, like Lockheed Martin and Boeing,
all the big players, Raytheon, all those guys.
Yeah, right. So wouldn't they actually want this to come out, because then they will be able to mass produce the technology and really sort of drive the market?
I think that may be a part of the factualization. And I've heard this on a few different little levels, that some companies were given technology and not all companies were given technology. And so if we, in the current, back in the day when this happened, there was probably only 5 companies and 3 of them got technology. So no biggie, right? Now there's 20 different companies, all worth billions of dollars, and only 3 of the guys still have that technology. One, of course, those companies are gonna, hugely guard that because it's the edge against their competitors. They don't want that shit coming out because then it becomes everyone's property. And two, the guys who don't have that probably know about it and is like, well, these guys got given this shit in the 50s. How come we don't get none? And that's like, you know, on that side, they're probably pushing for disclosure. So there would be both coming from the private sector. I imagine.
Yeah. Well, anyway, with NASA, we still got old Bill up on the screen.
The emperor.
I turned him down. There was like there is definitely there's some good things to take from it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just any destigmatization, anytime a nationally recognized institution, publicly funded institution like that will come out and even use language in that regard. I mean, as we said, man, 10 years ago, I wouldn't even thought we'd be here. I would never have thought NASA would have this kind of press conference. So that is at least a step in the right direction.
Well, yeah, even 2 years ago, really. Like,
well, yeah,
you know, this is new for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They've been the biggest deniers for 10, 9, 8 decades.
Yeah, and I think they have to be a key component in disclosure if it happens, because if it happens some other way and they're left sort of I won't use a colloquial term, but just with their junk in their hand, like looking around going, oh shit, we didn't know what was going on, or you know, then they lose even more credibility.
Yeah,
like they're going to have
and public trust in and I'm sure this is worldwide, but I know in Australia and America this is true. Public trust in public institutions is at an all-time low. No one is believing any of what these guys say.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I just realized NASA's only like 50 or 60 years old. So, but still, I'm sure there's precursors to NASA that have been just as secretive as anything else.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, the government isn't going to come out and say, oh yeah, UFOs, aliens, yeah, it's all real. Roswell was real. And NASA are left there going, oh,
yeah.
Oh, we didn't know any of that. That's not going to happen. They're gonna, and I think, look, to me, this sort of makes sense for what could be a 5-year plan, where they, you know, things are moving quite quickly, and this is their first step. And I would expect next year that we get something good.
Well, something a little bit more.
Yeah.
And look, and maybe this new guy is going to be good. I can't remember his name.
Mark McInerney. Hang on, I've got a picture of him. We'll bring him up. Mark McInerney. There he is. He is an American meteorologist, climate data scientist. Yeah, I don't really know much about him.
No, I know nothing about him, but it's nice to see someone that's probably under 80 years old.
Yeah, someone more coherent than Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see what this guy, maybe he's better than Kirkpatrick as well.
Oh yeah, well, do we want to talk about that for a little while? Although I got to admit, look, it was weird because when Kirkpatrick did the whole, I don't know if it was a congressional or a Senate thing, but he did that report, or maybe it was he was testifying to the Congress, and he said there was like your classic words. The words he said were classic, but he showed those videos, the orbs in Iraq and all through the Middle East. I mean, that was nothing small. I mean, that is now on record. That's another sort of official one that's there.
Yeah. The initial small steps. Yeah, it makes sense. We've just got to keep getting more. The stakes are going to be lifted each time these guys have to present something. I think the expectation there now is that we are going to start getting answers. There's going to be some answers there.
Mm.
They might just be small, but it's going to be we're going to have a little step forward each time.
Yeah,
And I think that's why a lot of people are pissed about the NASA report and disappointed, and it's a pile of crap. It was still a small step forward, and
it was exactly. And that's I was more pissed off. And then I watched the episode that you just did on the channel, and I was like, yeah, he's got a point. No, that's fair enough, because there was small steps forward. There might have been a lot to be pissed off from our perspective. We've been entrenched in the scene for a long time, hoping for as much as we can hope for. But yeah, definitely steps. There was definitely steps, which is, you know, you take the wins where you can get them.
Yeah. Oh well. Let's see what comes next. The next thing might be hearing dates.
Yeah. Well, that's something we should definitely keep tabs on. And look, I mean, obviously America's leading the way. We've had Mexico come out and do their thing, but let's not forget, you know, we've had other reports and stuff. I mean, I remember back in the day, France. I don't know if it was a hearing or anything, but there were definitely official reports coming out of France. I know there was some at least FOI documents that have come out from Australia. Plenty of other international spaces where this can still go on as well.
Yeah, and while in Australia we don't, you know, we're not going to have that political sort of power on the world stage to come forward until the US is ready to let us.
Oh, absolutely. And just under the Five Eyes alone, that's where that's going to sit. You know, all the Five Eyes are going to follow the lead of America, and in fact, all of NATO will probably follow the lead of America on this. And in fact, probably 90% of the West is going to follow America on this. You know, unless someone big came out, like Russia or China came out and did a sort of defying America move by releasing some stuff.
Well, it's actually, let's mention that quickly, because that is another idea to the reason why disclosure is happening, and it's happening fast, is possibly because of China or Russia.
Well, I don't know a lot about China. I've watched a couple of things, and they've definitely had a lot of, you know, sightings and possible retrievals of that kind of thing. Russia, it seems almost certainly stuff like that's happened. When the USSR fell apart, chaos reigned. The KGB was in madness. A lot of documents leaked out at that time. There's a lot of CIA documents where they've got a lot of pretty solid KGB material, reports and stuff. And look, a lot of that could be misinformation from a flailing KGB, but it seems like there's a fair bit of legit stuff that came out of that time as well. So, and it points to a lot of the same stuff that America's had, you know, crash retrievals, reverse engineering programs, that kind of stuff.
Well, actually, I might just bring up, I've got Arrow's no,
the website.
It's their little report. Here it is. Okay. And it shows the hotspots. So I'll just scroll down to, you know, some nice data here.
Infographics.
Yeah. This is the hotspots, and it looks like, is this sort of Taiwan here?
Yeah,
the coast of China. So close to China.
Yep.
And
obviously
and Russia.
Both coasts of America.
Yeah,
I did hear a thing again. I'm sure Richard Dollar mentioned it. And I think who's the head Arrow guy? I always forget his name. Kirkpatrick mentions this as well, and I think it's a fair and good point that these are places where they have the capacity to detect these things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's advanced radar arrays in these places and lots of witnesses and, so that might not necessarily be a good indication of where the hotspots are. That's just where our technology is that we can actually detect them, and there are enough people to actually see them when they do appear.
Which is mostly US naval, heavily patrolled naval
Pretty
spots,
much,
right?
yep. Yeah, and if not naval, and if not US, look at it's what is as you said, up near China. That's got to be surely one of the most patrolled coasts. And the other one is that the Middle East,
Yeah,
sort
the
of just
Gulf, some Gulf there
yeah,
in the Middle East. I'm not sure what it.
exactly. I
Yep.
mean, how many military assets from how many different countries are in that region of the world? They would have to have hugely advanced uh, radar systems set up throughout that whole place. So
Yeah. So but yeah, is disclosure, is it because China or Russia, they made that breakthrough, that, and maybe the US has been holding on to it for a long time. The Department of Energy, they've got all this, they've got their free energy, and they've been the only ones to have it until now they realize someone else has cracked it.
well, that's the big thing, and I think a lot of people have said this. I mean, credible people, people who you might think aren't as credible. Almost everyone has said it's about the energy, about what it would do to the energy industry. You could equate it to what we'd call the petrodollar, which would completely bankrupt the world. But then we're talking about new systems of economy and government. So
yeah, time will tell.
True. And I think, and I wouldn't have said this, as I said, you said 2 years ago, but I've been 5 to 10 years ago. I wouldn't have thought I would live to see it. And I think it's definitely on the cards now. I am thinking within the next 10 years, we're going to see some major, major stuff, if not sooner than.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to happen quick. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident. This is it. It's happening. So, well, we've been talking for an hour, so maybe we should wrap it up. Wrap up the first podcast.
Did pretty well. Not too many technical difficulties.
No. Although I did see we've got a comment here. The video is at 144p. So.
Oh, we've got another one under that. I don't know if you read that. Have you got that there?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So we're getting asked a question. Sorry, we're new to this, so he's probably already left the stream. Oh, no. No, I know who this is. What is your guys' take on timing of these disclosures? Why now? Do you guys think much of the conspiracy that government will stage the alien attack?
The Project Bluebeam question.
Yeah.
Age old. I mean, that's been out in the conspiracy field for a good 2 decades, probably, right?
Yeah.
And technology's going crazy. We're at the point now where it is actually realistic that they could pull that off wholesale, and it wouldn't even be that hard with AI and special effects. Wouldn't be that hard these days.
Yep.
You wouldn't even. They could either just use projections of holographs, or actual, if they have craft,
Yeah, and I've even thought, well, if there is agreements between different NHI groups and humans, then they could do it together to achieve some common agenda. So it might not be. It could be a complete faked human attack, or it could be NHI working with humans to say, let's, we'll fly our ships in here and pretend we're attacking, or I'm generalizing, but it could be like that.
Yeah, no, there's a million different possibilities. I don't know if it's a realistic. Look, it could definitely happen. Like I said, the technology's there and it's not a problem. But
yeah,
I don't know.
what is that going to achieve compared to a more? I think, and I think if you were an advanced species genuinely wanting to take control of another species on another planet, you'd probably have a lot cleverer ways of getting it done and achieving
Oh
sort
yeah,
of a
yeah.
better output of from
You
the
just
yeah
hybridize the race.
yeah yep that's happening, isn't it?
That's all
Is
you
that
do, right?
happening?
Well,
Yeah,
who knows? But yeah, it's there's a lot of more covert ways. You're right. It wouldn't be done by force, and that's what that's a good point to make. Actually, a very good point. As people go, oh, if they weren't friendly, then they would have taken over already, right? They would have destroyed us all already. Who's to say they haven't taken us over already? Who's to say
that's right.
they're not the ones who have introduced AI and these AI and ideas into people, whether it's by mind control or just doppelgangers of people or just fucking with computers and algorithms. What if they could just screw with our algorithms at a distance? They could easily control us. The
Yep.
algorithms basically control everything these days. So why would you overtly take over a world when you could easily? It's easily imaginable that you could easily covertly take over a world. Much
Yeah.
more simple. You still have all the output of the planet, and you just turn it to your need.
Yeah. So I think to answer that question is that either already have taken over or if they do it, we're not going to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there really is a takeover, if there's that's why I think a fake takeover.
I think we're all too primed for that.
It'd be a ballsy move to do that.
Super ballsy. And I think there's enough people now who would go, nah, and have heard of Project Bluebeam. And there'd be enough of us kicking up a stink going, guys, yeah.
Well, yeah, has Project Bluebeam the idea of Project Bluebeam, has that been the disinformation psyop?
Well,
get them thinking this is how it's going to happen. Meanwhile, we've done it over here.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, we're we finished 50 years ago. Welcome to the new world, baby.
Yeah, you're under control.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. We did pretty well.
Those tinfoil hats out.
Yeah, we'll get them for the next episode.
Yeah, that'll block the mind reading rays.
Yeah.
No, good first podcast. Yeah, we've had a good chat. Thanks anyone that's joined in and watched.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
we'll do it again.
We'll do it again soon. We haven't really talked about how often we're going to do this, but we'll work it out.
Well, I think at least probably once a month at the very least.
At least. Yeah.
Every couple of weeks at least, maybe.
Yeah. Two to 4 weeks. We'll build a schedule. We'll build a solid schedule. Yep. All right. Cool. Well, we'll end it here.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks everyone for watching. Whoever stopped by, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Awesome.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thanks, man.
See ya.
Take it easy. Bye.